Hi, I'm Howard Berger from Realcomm. I just wanted to say congratulations to Kenny and Eric for hitting over 1 million viewers on Control Trends. Congratulations, guys.
Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings video and podcast for the week ending June 14th, 2015. I am joined, as usual, by my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric. It's good to be back. We had a little break in the Control Talk Now sequence, but everybody's traveling, huh? You were down there at Realcomm, IBCOM 2015, and by the way, congratulations on a sensational job. The videos were outstanding. I felt like I was there. Nice. Control Trends really does get that message across. If you can't be there, come to Control Trends, and it's the next best thing. And then I was amazed how well you did as a stand-in for the live conference. Man,
I'm going to tell some stories about that, Kenny. But I tell you what, I have a lot of respect for Jerry, who does that for IBCOM, Realcomm, the conference live. He is the bomb. But kind of a funny story, and hopefully they edited this out. But Tom Shurtleff, Rob Murchison from Intelligent Buildings, and known those guys forever. They were great. So I got to interview them live on stage. And I tell you what, Kenny, I'm rocking and rolling through the interview. I get to the end of it, and I look and I say, I'd like to thank our guest. And I just did a brain freeze. And, you know, they're both looking at me, and everybody's looking. You could hear a pin drop. And then Tom goes, Tom Shurtleff. And I go, Tom Shurtleff, and I lost Rob there for a second. it was kind of embarrassing. So I have tremendous respect for what Jerry does. He's the guy who does those interviews, and Jim Young and Howard Berger and Lisa Young were kind enough to let me sort of sit in for Jerry for a little bit, and really enjoyed that. So got to talk to a lot of friends under the big lights. I think the only thing that was missing, Kenny, was you, big dog. So you and the missus had a nice little getaway. Anything you want to say about that, or you just want to deny everything?
No, I'll tell you what. We spent a week down in Fort Lauderdale by the sea. Our daughters came and visited us the first 2 days.
Nice.
Sabrina came in from California. Stephanie came down from Hartford, Connecticut. So we had a good family rendezvous. And then Rita had 5 glorious days. It was kind of stormy, but then, Florida weather, it was extremely hot. I brought as much sun home as with me as possible. So we had plenty of sun, and it was really relaxing.
Well, I tell you what, dude, you look relaxed, and you needed it. I tell you, man, you have just been really, really working your tail off between what you do on Control Trends, the Control Trends Awards, and then with DMS Controls Group. So, buddy, I'm happy for you. That was great. You were missed. Virtually everybody I saw asked about you, and a lot of people didn't want to do interviews unless you were there. They were going, especially Big Poppy and Little Poppy, Jason and Ted Houck. It was like Ted looked at me and goes, "Where's Kenny?" I said, "Well, Kenny's on vacation." He goes, "I'm not sure I trust you with an interview with me. I think we need Kenny here."
I'll tell you what, I saw that interview. Man, I'll tell you, Eric, without blowing smoke here, I'm saying that the interviews capture information in such an incredible way. I felt like I was there. Yeah. And those two guys are two of the sharpest knives in the drawer, huh?
They really are. And they're out of Canada. They sort of working all across the United States. We'll talk about their interview a little bit later when we get to it. But hey, Kenny, before we get too far down the line, a special thanks to Howard Berger for his congratulatory 1 million viewers. So about 3 weeks ago, we went over 1 million viewers on Control Trends. And so I want to thank our audience for that. We really appreciate it. Kenny, it's a hell of a ride, isn't it? I mean, everywhere we go, we get to hang out with the coolest people. We get to interview the coolest people, and it's good stuff. So thanks to everybody for their support.
I think, what it is, our the collaboration, all the trends that we follow, whether it's cybersecurity or smart grid or whatever, all these people are becoming, we're getting more coalesced. We're getting a, greater, what do you call that, critical mass of information, and everybody's participating. I think it's just growing. I think Control Trends actually provides that solution that our industry needed, because we've got a great industry. I mean, the more people see about more people, the more they're involved, the more they learn, the faster information is disseminated, the faster product dissemination occurs. So I think we're really playing an important role, and I'm glad to work with you. I think
me too.
1 million view is quite a milestone. 1 million of anything is quite a milestone.
Well, it really is. And I tell you what, Kenny, sort of getting back to what you talked about with the interviews, I think one of the things that you and I are very much aware of is the really wonderful people that are in our industry, and the personalities and the characters. And I think one of the really great things about being able to do video interviews is our audience gets to know these people, right? And it's so cool to do it that way. And so again, IBICON Realcomm, Kenny, it was an incredible conference. And I know, the week before I was traveling, you were traveling, so we didn't get to do a Control Talk Now the week before. But what I'd like to do, Kenny, the two big themes at IBICON Realcomm this year were cybersecurity and analytics, and using data, making data usable. So we had a couple of posts from the week before that I'd like to go through to sort of set the stage for IBICON Realcomm, and we'll spend the rest of the show talking about that. How does that sound?
Well, it sounds good, because I think to set the framework, you had the government, NIST cyber framework, applying DOE's NIST cybersecurity framework guidance, and then you had Fred Gordy's a great post on cybersecurity terms and definitions. So that's stacking that that's a nice prelude to the IBICON Realcomm coverage, because every single person talked about cybersecurity. So clearly that was one of the premier concerns of everybody there, all the stakeholders, the users, the integrators, the vendors, everybody. So I mean, and that's the only way to get progress, is to make it saturate everybody with information, make it available, and things will start to happen.
Well, they really will, and a special congratulations to Fred Gordy. Fred has moved on to a company called SmartCore, and we've got an interview from Fred. We won't be posting it this week, but Fred is in a position, I think, to really focus on cybersecurity in the way he wants to. So Fred is a contributor on Control Trends, and of course that piece that he did on the terminology. I think the first thing you have to do, Kenny, is you have to get everybody speaking the same language. And Fred really breaks it down in very easy to understand terms. And if you think about it, and everything from the red hats to the white hats to the gray hats, if you don't know the vocabulary, you can't speak the language. So this is, I think, a must primer for anybody who sort of wants to delve deeper into cybersecurity. So I thought that was a fantastic post. And of course, your government post, the government is very aware of this. And as we roll into day one, or actually what they call pre-con, Rob Allen and I, who was with Stromquist, 7 Minutes in Control, Young Gun Rob Allen, we sat in on the pre-con. They had 4 hours on cybersecurity. And Kenny, they had the best people in the country talking about it. Everybody from the FBI to some of the top property management people, what they're doing about it, to Homeland Security, Marty Edwards. So it was really, really fact-filled, Kenny. And I'll just cut to the chase. The two big takeaways, and the gentleman, I think it was from Boston Properties, sort of summed it up very eloquently. You got two diverging that are now converging trends. One is with the Internet of Things and Internet devices, more and more stuff in buildings is going to go online. There are more and more devices that are going to be online, Internet enabled. And anytime you have an Internet enabled device, that becomes a portal for hackers to potentially come through. So he says that trend is not going to change. He gave the numbers, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, Kenny, but we're going to see more and more devices in buildings. And then the second trend that's not going to change is the hackers are not going to stop. So it's one of these realities that everybody in the room goes, we just got to face up to it. We got to deal with it. And so a lot of IBICON Realcomm was about different ways to handle the cybersecurity.
Yeah, I wish I should have caught that. But just to summarize the Fred Gordy's seminal document again, like you said, it's the definitions, it's the glossary of cybersecurity from, like you said, the hats, the red, white, black, gray, script kiddie. I mean, things I hadn't heard of or didn't know what they were. Watering hole, honeypot. So
sounds like a strip club, doesn't it? Strip kitty, honeypot.
Well, botnet. So the bottom line is that Fred Gordy has taken the time and effort to become one of the commanding consultants in cybersecurity. He works for a company that's the experts. If you need cybersecurity guidance, You go to Control Trends, go on a direct connect to Fred's site, and contact him because he's willing to help and he can help. And then the government, what it was a seminar because this all began with the government back in February 2013 under an executive order 13636, which called for NIST to develop a voluntary cybersecurity framework for critical infrastructure. So obviously these are national objectives, and now they're really putting teeth into it because the key takeaways from the seminar or webinar was that, they want the Department of Energy wants to know that everybody's moving forward in a concerted effort to improve. They want to share lessons learned and methodologies for greater, faster implementation, broader implementation. They want proof of concept demonstrations that people can go to and learn from. And then they're going to go into a very deep, they're going to take a wider shovelful to get more people involved so that you get larger participation. So good stuff.
Very, very good stuff. All right, well, let's just sort of roll through the post now because now that brings us up to IBCON REALCOMM, Kenny. What do we have up first?
Well, Eric, I'll tell you, the first was the, oh my gosh, you got day one highlights. And this is you and Rob Allen talking about, just how overwhelmed. Rob used the term fire hose, standing in front of a fire hose trying to drink because it's just so much information. I do have my cliff notes on it, and but you were there. Why don't you give?
I think we sort of summarized part of it. We spent the morning at the cybersecurity thing that Jim Young and Howard Berger and Lisa Woods have put together. So that was fantastic. From there, Rob went on to the boot camp and covered the boot camp, which you and I had both been there before. And the boot camp is really for the real estate professionals. It's real estate professionals that are sort of farther down the path, technologically wise, Kenny, and they are educating the newer real estate people that are trying to get on board. And again, the theme that keeps coming up, and Rob told me this again, one of the first things they do is they define what an open system is, and they really advise real estate people getting into it, make sure your system is open. And open means, among other things, is they'll tell you it's not just that it speaks BACnet or LAN or an open protocol, but they define open as meaning that you can have multiple people service your system. It has to have the BACnet or the LAN. Multiple people can service the system. It interfaces with other systems, and you can get the same tools, the same training, the same products as the installing contractors. So big thing there, and Rob was just sort of blown away by that. More so, Kenny, and I was trying to tell Rob this. Rob works with Stromquist. He works with our systems integrators. And I was trying to tell Rob just how educated the real estate professionals are getting. And he was just totally blown away by, what they learned at the pre-con conference. And again, that's sort of, if you're a listener out there, if you're a property management person or team, I mean, Jim Young has these things every year. You definitely want to go to this. It's the seminal thing. If you are a systems integrator, you want to go to this. Where else can you learn about the latest issues, latest technologies, and at the same time, be able to interface with people that are potential customers?
Well, Eric, I think you're right. And I think the thing is, like, it used to be a railroad train, and we always thought we were pulling the train. We thought we were the lead engine, and the real estate industry was behind us, and the institutional, the mush markets, that we were pulling the train, but actually driving our businesses. And now we realize that you watched how IBCON has grown, the number of vendors, the number of participation, because that's the customers. And the customers are telling you, this is what we want. This is not what you're trying to sell us. We need you to innovate. We need you to integrate both the operational technologies and the internet technologies and make a product solution for us, and so we can apply it across a portfolio of buildings that are national in scope, or some of them are international. That's why RealComm is so cool. It's the biggest players in the real estate market in a consolidated environment telling you what's going on.
Right. And so, Kenny, while Rob was at the boot camp, I was at the Integrator Summit. And this is, again, a great thing that Jim and Howard and Lisa put together. So top integrators and people coming in talking about what you have to do to take it to the next level system integrator wise. So a couple of interesting things there. Paul Oswalt was one of the speakers, Kenny. As you and I both know, Paul is just not only a fantastic integrator, his company just got bought by CB Richard Ellis, but he is just one of the great thinkers in our industry. And Kenny, it was interesting. Two takeaways from Paul's talk that I think are worth mentioning and remembering and acting upon. For our listeners who know, Kenny and I talk about Paul a lot, and when he talks about the tribal knowledge leaving the building. Well, what he talked about in his talk was the difference between training and learning. It's a huge distinction. He says sending some of these young people to a training class doesn't get it. So you can be trained on somebody that doesn't mean you learn it. So learning for him is almost like a mentoring is a part of it. But somebody takes one of the younger people under their wings and has them learn versus being just trained. The second big piece, Kenny, that he talked about was communicating with your customer, the customer interface. And it was kind of fascinating because Paul was advocating again that most of us as engineers typically get down to, how something works. And he says the big question you have to ask is why? Why do they want to do it? He gave an example of a customer that he had that they called up and wanted analytics. They wanted analytics. And I guess Paul's engineer sort of got him going a little bit. When Paul got on the scene, the first question he said was, well, why do you want analytics? And the customer goes, well, it just sounds like the thing to do. It seems like it'd be really useful. Well, why do you want it? What would you do with it? And then he asked the question, what do you have? Okay. And nobody had asked that question. When they got to that, the guy had programmable thermostat. So Paul's going, well, we have to have a whole nother conversations because you can't get any analytics out of that right now. So his point was the customer engagement, people need to be trained on that. Integrators need to focus on that. They need to ask the why question. They really have to understand why a customer is asking for something. He gave an analogy that you and I like a lot, Kenny. He talked about, Steve Jobs never asked his customers what they wanted. He alluded to the fact that Henry Ford said he never asked people what they wanted because if he asked his customers what they wanted, they would want a faster horse and buggy. So great stuff from Paul Oswald. If you ever get a chance to check him out, it's totally worth doing. So he was one of the many speakers that spoke there, Kenny. Again, the Integrator Summit was rocking and rolling. It was right on.
Well, two things. One is you get to talk to Paul again when you were doing the stand-in work for the conference live. That's a really good thing. And so we'll come back to see Paul later on. The second thing is this is a great segue into the gentleman that you sat behind at one of the conferences, because you say that you're talking about why people want analytics, And this gentleman, you talked to Mr. Jonathan Schultz from Onyx Equities real estate company. And, when you talk about the why, he knew exactly why he was there and why he wanted big data and why he wanted analytics, because he wanted to use data analytics to create a more profitable portfolio of properties. And he wanted all his co-workers and employees to understand that to get rid of the menial tasks and focus on what you like about real estate. Because if you get big data and data analytics working for you, it takes away all the chores. Almost like the link monkey we talked about, with the haystack and tagging. Well, these guys, these forward thinkers, and he said, I'm here because I'm a forward thinker. I want to take advantage of this technology. Big data to me means that I can get things done quicker, easier, automate all the menial tasks and all that assimilation and aggregation of information, and generate information that we can become more profitable as a company. So that was really cool to hear. That was a great interview.
Oh yeah, well, Jonathan Schultz was sitting in front of us at the cybersecurity piece, Kenny, and he just asked a couple of profound questions. We got to talking to him a little bit, and this guy is phenomenal, Kenny. He is Onyx Properties. Remember we did the Bank of America building in Atlanta? Sure. Jonathan owns that. So, so the guy that we're dealing with is Darren. Our contact there works for Jonathan. So he is a super, super sharp guy, Kenny. As a matter of fact, he's a big social media guy. He got a kick out of this. He wants to come on and do like a monthly show with us. He wants to call it What the F. So he's from New Jersey. So I told him we might have to change the title a little bit, but this guy's a wealth of information. He comes at it from a different perspective. This is a guy who invests in properties and buildings and makes them more profitable. So to get his perspective is going to be fantastic. So, Jonathan, if you're listening, our community is looking forward to having you on the show, and we can talk about what the F's or whatever you want to talk about, but it's going to be good stuff. And yeah, Kenny, a whole different perspective. And that was another thing that sort of came out, Kenny. People know us now. I had two gentlemen from Mexico we met that want to come on and do like a show, what's going on in Latin America. We've got the guy from Australia that's going to come on, Richard McElhaney. So I think this is hopefully going to morph into an around the world type thing. So every week, hopefully we'll have somebody talking about what's going on in a different part of the world. And Jonathan, I tell you, man, he's a cool dude. He's like Gordon Gekko, man. You know, he is sharp. I doubt he eats lunch. He probably thinks lunch is for wimps and breakfast is for wimps and dinner's for wimps.
Well, just going through his little resume, he was recognized as the commercial brokerage all-star by Real Estate New York, twice named one of New Jersey's most successful business executives under 40 years old. So, yeah, he's got some accolades already that prove he knows his stuff. And to add to your world, the Control Trends Worldwide, we have Vinayak Sain from India that wants to be Control Trends India. So
yeah, we got to get hold of him. As a matter of fact, we got to schedule a Skype call with him pronto. So next week we'll get with him. Asker, we met him at the EZIO. Meeting in Madrid last year. Super sharp guy. Got a hell of a golf swing too, huh, Kenny?
Well, you know what? He's just he predicted that we would see more of American participation in India than before. I think he was one that made it clear to us that India kind of was driven by Western Europe, Germany, certainly UK, England, and all the standards. There were British threads, and the voltages were all 230. He was saying, well, he and some other guys, not just Benyak, that they're actually considering using NPT, and they're actually considering using 24 volts. And India is really on the move. They've got the money. They've got the imperative. They want to bring 100 smart cities up online within 4 or 5 years, and that is just a tremendously challenging project, because you're taking not only all the barriers of technology, language, and just culture. They're going through them all at the same time, and these guys want help and they want assistance, and the best way they can do it is looking over the shoulders, looking into the North American markets, finding out how we do it, comparing that with how they're doing it now, make some adjustments, make some corrections, make some improvements, and press on. But that's why Control Trends, having that participation in India, really puts us into the seat where we're serving as that hub we always wanted to be, kind of keeping an eye on the world.
Right, Kenny. We know Anna and I went to India several years. My wife Anna, and she actually had lived there for a couple of years. So we went on a tour about 3 years ago. And I tell you what, Kenny, there are some of the most modern buildings. It's kind of an extreme contrast. But some of the airports there are the most modern airports you'll ever see. Some of the buildings are the most modern, and then there's just billions of them that are available to be upgraded. But I think you're right. I think their mission is to be state of the art all the way around. So I think it's a heck of a opportunity over there.
Well, it's the largest emerging economy. I think they've surpassed China now.
Yeah.
So that means all the people that we work with, all the HVAC manufacturers, vendors, solutions providers, they're gonna be taking a look around, seeing how they can participate. And I think Control Trends will serve as a focus, fulcrum, a pivot point, or a portal, however you want to call it. But these guys want us to know what they're doing so that we can share this information quickly. And it's exciting because I'll tell you, these guys are all profound engineers. These guys aren't just rookies. These guys are the stalwarts in their respective areas. And if they say this is what's happening, chances are it's a very accurate call to attention.
Agreed.
All right, Eric, we go. We've got so many of these things. I mentioned catching up with Paul Oswald, which was your Conference Live interview. And I'll tell you what, he's a very eloquent guy. We know that he probably, he came up in the trenches, came out of the Tritium world. He knows integration. He knows the software issues. He also knows the equipment and building issues, and he puts it all together as one of the best systems integrators. In fact, the Master Systems Integrator, ESI, had a reputation for being the top handful of systems integrators in the world. And it led to their purchase by CB Richard Ellis because they wanted to capture and put that incredible integration capabilities to work for their entire portfolio. So what was that interview with Paul Oswald about?
I was gushing like a teenage girl, Kenny. I tell you what, I was supposed to talk to him about something, and I just said, Paul, I just got to ask you so many questions. It's unbelievable. They had to put the stick on me to pull me off because I could talk to Paul Oswald for days. I asked him for some clarification right off the bat, Kenny, on what he meant by learning versus teaching. We talked a bit about how the technology's changing. We really talked about how to recruit younger people, get younger people in the industry, and on and on and on. He's a wealth of knowledge. And sort of speaking of that, Kenny, we might be running a segment. We actually recorded a segment. We ran into, and I'm talking about young guns because what's on Paul Oswald's mind, Ken Sinclair, if you're listening to this, I'd like to get your input on this too. We all realize that the tribal knowledge is leaving the building, and for our industry to succeed, we have to attract the best and the brightest from the young people. We have to get them to come in, be trained, stay, and contribute. So I met a young lady who actually works for an integrator, very, very passionate about the industry, Kenny. And as I began to talk to her, I asked her what attracted her to the industry, and she talked about being in engineering school and talking to her friends, the young people, and a lot of like one guy in particular wanted to go to work and be an engineer and make Priuses, and her response was, it takes more energy to make a Prius than the energy that it saves. So if you want to really save the planet, there's only one industry for you to be in, which is the building automation controls industry. Okay, so. So we talk more. She's very passionate about it. She believes it. She says what's important to her generation is making a huge difference on the planet. So that's number one. So she's been in the industry for a while. I think maybe we are mismanaging some of the younger people a little bit because she's got some complaints. She says people are leaving. They come in and they leave. And so I asked her a little bit about that. And she said that one of the big things with that, for example, one of the top engineers that she knows, what's important to them is to have freedom and to be able to travel. And of course, they know the technology. So this guy wants to work his tail off for her and her company, but he also wants to travel. So there's like a lot of pushback. No, he can't do that. Where she's going, let's just give him an iPad, a computer connection. He can be on the beaches in Thailand for all we care, as long as he's producing the results. So she's got a feel for what motivates young people that are already in the workplace, what attracts them if they're not to our industry, and sort of what to do and not to do. So I'd like people's input and comments. We are talking about doing a segment called Anonymous J, and we'd have to keep her anonymous because she's very outspoken, very passionate. So imagine, if you will, a very articulate woman who is just going to tell it like she sees it, but she's completely darked out. But we think two things. A, it could be a voice for young people that are in the industry that are maybe not being heard or afraid to be heard. And secondly, we think it'd be great for the business owners to be able to listen to this, to maybe interact with her through comments or whatever, let her respond, and just a way to sort of get the true story. As you know, Kenny, I mean, if you're working, you don't necessarily, you're not necessarily able to say what will really motivate you or what demotivates you. And not only that, a lot of these younger people, I mean, if they can't put it in 100, as Paul Oswald says, if they can't put it in 140 characters or less, they can't communicate it. This woman is extremely articulate, Kenny, and to the point. So I'll warn you right now, if we run with this, she'll probably be a little bit over the top. But again, reach out in comments. Let us know if this would be useful to you. If you're a young person in our industry, would you like to have a voice where you could email her, talk about your issues, get them out on the airwaves so that that owners can hear these and understand. If you're an owner or an executive at one of these companies, would you like to have a venue where you could sort of get a peek inside the mind and the passions and the wants and the needs of your younger employees?
Well, Eric, I'll tell you what, I'm excited about it. And I did cherry pick and peek into the Vimeo. And I can say this, that my first inclination of how serious this was from the Johnson ABCS conference in Arizona, where they were losing a substantial amount of investments on their young interns. They were getting the brightest people that money, they didn't buy these people. They applied. The kids were excited. They came in. They wound up leaving after 2 years, and Johnson Controls is thinking, what the heck is going on? They bring in some experts. They study. It's the first time that 4 generations are working together at the same time, And the senior executives have no connection, no bridge, no understanding. Because their children are in the second tier, and then their children's children. So you actually have 4 generations where the first generation can't even understand what's going on with the fourth. Every time you see somebody with an iPhone in their hand, they're thinking that they're screwing off, talking to their girlfriend or whatever, you know. Meanwhile, he's using that, she's using that iPad or that iPhone to do something that the company's IT doesn't have yet. She's going out and getting information faster, quicker, better, doing her job more efficiently, and the people that are her senior executive bosses aren't even in touch with it. She calls it the straight talk for gray hairs. And this is a confluence of voices. She's telling that if you really want to know what's going on and you want to really invest in your future, here's what the young people are thinking. They want this industry to become exciting. They want opportunities. They're saying, how can I be smart for you, but don't handcuff me with your old operating tech, with the old kind of like we call them legacy systems now. We change out legacy systems in buildings, and you can't migrate them forward and backward like you should be able to. It's not like pneumatics, right? So they're saying that if you really want to know, there's a S word, and it doesn't stand for sex, it stands for sustainability.
Yeah.
Young people are truly, truly interested in our planet. They want to make a difference. They want to be the next guy or person or girl that wants to be recognized for a contribution made in this business and actually saved, reduced the carbon footprint, reduced energy consumption, such a significant measure that they were recognized. So they love they love to produce. They love to work, but they don't like the methodologies that we have in place. They don't fit. It's like making somebody work with a hand tied behind their back. They feel like we just don't get it.
Yeah, no, and she's saying that the company she works with, they're about to lose one of their biggest producers just because. And again, I think one of the trends is a lot of the younger people don't really have maybe the verbal skills to be able to communicate what they need or what they want. And I think a lot of the companies don't have the space to listen to it. I tell you what, when I listen to her speak, Kenny, if you wanted to recruit people to our industry, I mean, you listen to her. You heard the video, and I had to put it back on private. I have to get her okay on this before we publish the first one. But was she not the most impassioned, inspiring speaker you've heard? I mean, she could be your recruiter. If she becomes a spokesperson for the young people in our industry and that gets out, I mean, if I'm one of these companies, I am letting them know that we have an anonymous J in our industry, and that's a spokesperson that understands, because she's really, I think, got her pulse on what they're thinking, what they need, what motivates them, what demotivates them. I mean, even if an owner goes, I've got this young person that's doing this, how do I inspire them? How do I motivate them? Even if they send that in as a question, let anonymous J answer it for them. I think it could be a huge piece. So I'm hoping she's going to stay committed to this. I think she will be committed. She's very passionate about it. I promised her that I would edit the first one up, let her take a look at it, give her a minute to think about it. So hopefully we'll be posting an Anonymous J this week, and man, I'm hoping we can get it to be a weekly feature, a vlog with Anonymous J. And again, the thought process on this is if you're a young person or somebody else in the industry, you have a question for her, you want to know what young people are thinking, what motivates them, what inspires them, what demotivates them, Anonymous J is your sort of portal into the young brains.
Well, Eric, you said 2 things that Richard Warner from O&M Engineering in Baltimore said that was an issue. Conversation, dialogue with young people. They don't talk in long sentences. They don't read long paragraphs. If you can't hit it quick and they can't answer quick, it makes it very uncomfortable and awkward. And it seems like there's a communication breakdown. And then 2, I think what we're seeing here is a Target. Target is renewing, the fresh. Getting people involved, young people involved in our industry, and we have like a target set up there. Ken St. Clair's autodidactic approach is like an arrow going in. The gentleman from SES Engineering that we interviewed last week at Project Haystack, I see a lot of these arrows coming in now. We're starting to hit the 10 on the target board, and then that means that Anonymous J can come in so that really and truly we can find out some of the obstacles, the limiting factors, some of the reasons why young people aren't attracted to our business or why they don't stay. So I tell
you what, Kenny, I think it's going to be great. And I'll warn our audience right now, she is edgy. And at the end of the first one, she goes, if you're afraid, that's okay. You should be afraid. But this is what you need to hear. So this could be great stuff, Kenny. And Ken St. Clair, I hope you get behind this, too. I think Anonymous J is going to be the poster child for recruiting to our industry. So, all right, big dog. I could talk about Anonymous J all day. Let's hit it. What do we got next?
Conference Live, Tom Shercliffe and Rod Murchison on keeping buildings secure. Tom Shercliffe and Bob Murchison are from Intelligent Buildings, which is a smart building consulting company out of Charlotte, North Carolina. They share some of their vast experience consulting building owners in over 85 cities around the world. One of the biggest takeaways I saw was that the whole idea, if you don't break it down into understandable, manageable parts, is too big. So he said, they say start out small with dealing with energy and operational efficiencies or cybersecurity. The emergence of technology has caused congestion. It's caused disruption. So what happens is this new technology that's supposed to be helping a lot of organizations and building owners is confusing them. So he says, they say you got to have a constant and focused dialogue to get every stakeholder oriented and committed to the organizational goals. And I think these guys really got it. They really have a great company and a great approach towards taking somebody from where they are to where they want to be.
Well, they do, Kenny, and these guys are just cutting edge. So one of the things that they're offering now, and Jonathan Schultz actually asked this question at Cybersecurity, where do you go to get more information? Somebody else asked, what's the first step that I take? And I think that Tom and Rob answered this question. They actually have a service now, Kenny, that's very, very reasonable. They'll go in and work with you with your building with a checklist to sort of let you know where you're vulnerable. So their theory, and I think Fred Gordy would concur with this, is probably about 80% of your stuff is low-hanging fruit. It's like, having the password book out on the desk and stuff like that. So they've got, I think it's a 6-step approach where they'll go in and they'll check 6 or 7 or 8 things out. And help you. A lot of that stuff you can fix yourself. And then if it's bigger type stuff, then they can point you in the right direction to bring in one of the more expensive professionals to sort of nail your stuff. So those guys, you definitely want to check that out. It's in the video. They talk about this service they provide and how to get hold of it. The other thing, Kenny, I'm talking to Tom and Rob. Now, keep in mind, these guys, and I was talking to them a little bit at the show, they have been dealing with real estate people for forever. They understand what makes them tick, how things get budgeted, how things get let in terms of money spent. And like you alluded to a minute ago, I mean, in most of these real estate companies, it's about alignment and it's about getting everybody on the team in agreement to not only purchase a system or make a decision, but also to make it work correctly. So these guys have intimate knowledge of how decision-making goes on at real estate company. So I was talking to Tom a little bit, and again, I'd like feedback and comments on this, please. I was trying to talk Tom and Rob into seeing if they could do a sales type seminar for systems integrators. In other words, these guys are talking to real estate people on the other side all day, every day, and they're looking at different proposals. They're hearing different proposals. They know what works and doesn't work. So if you're an integrator, if we could talk Tom and Rob into doing a real estate sales type seminar, sales and marketing, to teach you how to market your services to real estate people, is that something you'd be interested in? If so, please let me know in comments.
Sounds good. Sounds very appealing.
Yeah. Could be good, and we could either do that locally, Kenny, and bring it in, or this type of thing we could probably live stream. So a lot of possibilities. Those guys stay really, really busy. So I encourage you, with some interest, please reach out in comments, and we're going to try and persuade those guys into taking some of their busy time and their tribal knowledge and sharing it.
Well, it sounds like mutually beneficial collaboration. How's that? So
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because then the integrators could possibly bring them clients, and they can show the integrators how to be better with the clients they have.
Yeah.
We go to the next post is Rob Allen. By the way, Rob Allen did an excellent job. He is just getting better and better. He's doing a great job, and I really appreciate his comments, because he again says, we make it look easy, that when you go to these shows, it's a long marathon. You get there early and you go to bed late and you put the posts up, and so he got a couple of tastes of that, and he realizes that Eric Stromquist works his tail off. He's not out there carousing and all that reference to all those margaritas that taste lousy at the bar. That's not very often. But,
well, and again, Rob, and to put in perspective, Rob shot the video footage. He edited all the video footage, so he was up late all night editing, Kenny. So again, I think it's an indication of what can happen when you have a young gun or a young person when they're motivated and inspired. I mean, I think that's one of the things. I mean, and I think Anonymous Jay would probably say this too, is that they're motivated for their reasons. And if they're passionate about something, they don't eat, they don't sleep, they just get it done. But if you don't know how to sort of engage them that way, then it's hard to get them. But again, congratulations to Rob Allen, who works for Stromquist. He handles our integrators, like I mentioned before. He started a show called 7 Minutes in Control, which we air here on Control Trends. And again, Kenny, he did not know how to edit videos 3 weeks ago. And he got inspired with it, and he'd take the footage back to the room after we shot it. I'd wake up the next day, and he'd have them all uploaded on YouTube. So I know he was staying up all night doing this stuff.
Well, again, and I think you summarized that again. If people like what they're doing, it's not work. It's something else. It's still tiring. It's still time costing, but it doesn't feel like it's hard, ugly work. It feels like you're inspired because he. See, the thing about it is you learn so much through osmosis. Your presence there, listen to somebody say it, listen to doing it, then you regurgitate that when you go ahead and you do the post, then you hear it again through the editing. You really, truly come away with a very strong understanding of what was said and done. But this particular post was Clockworks. Rob Allen caught up with this Nicholas Gajewski from KGS Buildings, and Nick showed Rob a very cool analytics package called Clockworks. And I watched it, and KG Buildings offers market-leading automated diagnostics and building performance management software and provide services to facility managers, engineers, and service providers that give around-the-clock information to their service partners about energy savings, proactive management, more comfortable buildings, more efficient building operations, turnkey services, automatic diagnostics. And so we're watching the emergence of more these third-party solutions that you can lay on top of your building management system to really aggregate the big data and all the information in your building and then turn it into actionable performance, things that actually mean savings with energy and operational savings. So this is another company to keep your eye on, and Rob did a great job on the interview.
We really did. And Kenny, again, this gets back to how much fun it is to do Control Trends because Adam and Matt recognize us. They're big Control Trends fans, so we got to talking to them. And again, this is another great technology that we didn't even know about. I think these guys will definitely be in the running at the Control Trends Awards next year. So check that video out. Again, very unique approach that they use. Really cool product. Rob does a great job sort of uncovering that. You can see the product demo on Control Trends and look for those guys to participate and do well in the Control Trends Awards this year.
Well, it just keeps growing, Eric. And like you said, I had never heard of them prior to watching it, and then I'm impressed. Because I think what happens, things happen geographically, regionally, city by city, but people all around the country, all around North America, all around the world now see that this technology is within their arm's reach through, like that, what is that, 6 phone calls to... 6 degrees of separation. Right. Well, what we're seeing is that similar process is happening in our buildings world, our building industries, is that people realize that, hey, this guy's from Atlanta, and they give him a call. Next thing you know, it wasn't such a hard thing to do. There's a network of people available around every metropolitan area, and these guys are providing services and are actually successful, and we didn't even know they were there. So all this is gelling together. It's going to create greater we were talking about we're not competing against the same market. We're increasing the market. So we got this co-opetition happening where we're not taking somebody else's projects from them or competing for their customers. We're increasing the market. There's more people that need the services. We've Jim Young made a comment to us about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, that in San Diego, one of the smartest cities in North America, they've just touched 15% maybe of those buildings are smart and integrated. So if that's the benchmark, imagine how much more market opportunities are available. So that these products and services aren't going to compete where it's my project or your project. We can all go out and get new projects. Is the mentality. Yeah,
I think you're right, Kenny. And again, last year we were all sort of amazed at the fact that Intel, Dell, Cisco, Microsoft, all of them are there. And sort of as an aside at the Integrator Summit, I think you remember last year when the gentleman from Intel spoke at the Integrator Summit, he was going, we can do jobs faster, quicker, and we got the security handled, and sort of shook a lot of people up. Well, I'll let you know, he was not at the conference this year. They did have somebody else from Intel speaking, and he was very careful and probably repeated 4 or 5 or 6 times that Intel is not into producing a product directly, that they will be working with existing partners to make their products better. So I thought that was an interesting twist this year. And speaking of that, Kenny, I did see Therese Sullivan. She said to tell you hello. She was there on the prowl. So Therese, buildingcontext.me, check her out. She's another go-getter in the industry, another great source of information.
And she has about 4 new posts that came out last week as a result.
Yeah.
California did some. They reworked how contracts can be issued for energy savings. 33 or something. Another title coming out of California to make the process, the bottleneck, open it up so they can get things done and get things done quickly, and still not violate any of the obvious codes and standards and laws, but happens quickly. A great post by Therese. Which brings us to day 2. Like I say, having the opportunity to watch these videos is incredible. This time, you guys, you and Rob are standing in front of San Antonio's Alamo Monument, and I was there. I was in the Air Force, and I remember our first opportunity to get out and go see something, the world after coming out of basic training. We went to see the Alamo, and it's a very humble, small area. You think it's going to be like a Washington Monument type of thing. It isn't. It's a very small but historic place, and you guys got bumped. You guys had your camera set up there, and they said, hey, buddy, move, and you guys complied. And then, but I think one of the important things when you have these major meetings is to have your general session have some very, very stalwart, recognized experts or successful people, because they really the foundation of the mindset. And day 2's general session featured Brian Farron, and they say that few people understand more about maturing ideas and waiting for the world to understand them than this Brian Farron. He's a technologist, an engineer, scientist, entrepreneur, inventor. We heard some talk about that there's Apple's involved in a lawsuit with Samsung over the when you use that little stretching motion on your phone to enlarge a picture or whatever. This gentleman worked on it with one of his colleagues, and it's an incredible technology. But I bet you, as Rob said, he used the F-bomb a couple times. So he was a very interesting guy. He wasn't afraid to tell it like it was, and he shared some very interesting information.
No, he really did, and it was day 2 was great. We were at the Alamo, the site of we sort of checked the names, and there was a Davy Smyers Crockett, and I'm wondering if that's any relation to you guys that fought at the Alamo. I had no idea that Davy Crockett's middle name was Smyers, so we're assuming that he's related to you guys. And no, it was good. Session day 2, had a chance to talk with John Subble a little bit from Tritium, Kenny, and I tell you what, they are. I really admire those guys. They're under a lot of pressure to release Niagara 4. And I tell you what, he was telling me that there's one little thing that is probably like a 1 in 1 millionth chance that it might be a security possible issue. It probably would never happen. But you know what? These guys are not going to release that till they have everything tied up. So it ought to be coming out pretty soon. But again, major respect to those guys for making sure it's right, 100% right before they put it out in the field. I know it's tempting to rush something forward, and John just said that we're going to have it perfect before it comes out.
Well, yeah, and there was a couple things there, but the JACE 8000, there's a case study that came out of Tritium that we posted the first announcement, which was the release of Niagara 4, the time dates that they have established, but they also got a one-page case study out about a company in Florida down your way, ESSI, where they were talking about they launched the Niagara 4 beta project, and it was just a total success. They had no problems integrating. The integrator took about 30 minutes to convert the system over to the new JACE 8000 in Niagara 4, so that's good news. There was a story that came out of the day 2 coverage that you had there where there's 7.5 billion people, and there's already 7 billion cell phones in use. That's scary. Those numbers are so big, I can barely facilitate that, but where do all those old phones go to? No, just kidding. The growth of technology, one of the very simple but eloquent comparisons and contrasts was 2 papal events at the Vatican. One in 2003 where it showed the crowd, there was one person in the crowd with a flip phone that was able to take a picture of what was going on in the Vatican City with the Pope. And then in 2013, the same similar event, every single person that was attended there had an intelligent device and was either taking pictures of it or video. And so in that 10-year span, that is like an incredible presentation of the pervasive spread of technology. You know, in 10 years, one person had this new technology. He was probably or she was probably one of those guys that jumps off the cliff first and tries it. You know, and then 10 years later, every single person there had that phone, or smart device. So that's the dynamics we're talking about with technology. Then you had, interviews with Delta Controls' Una DeBoer, Sky Foundry's John Petsy, Lake Springs' Mark Peacock, Hepta Controls' Ted and Jason Hauk, and of course we already talked about the Intelligent Buildings interview with Tom Shercliffe and Rob Murchison. But that must have been a long and interesting day, huh?
Well, it was a long and interesting day, and again, we still have a lot of video footage that we will be posting over the next week or two. So I think so John Petsy, I actually got to interview him twice. Same with Mark Peacock. LinkSpring is, again, cybersecurity being one of the big focuses. Their Cyber Pro really addresses that in an elegant way, and we talk about that sort of ad nauseum on the show, so I won't go through how that technology works again, but you'll be able to check the videos out to see that. But yeah, a special shout out to Una DeBoer. She does marketing for Delta Controls and Copper Tree Analytics. Una was a platinum sponsor last year, Kenny. She announced, let us know that this week that she is on as a platinum sponsor this year as well. So really do appreciate that, Una. And it's people like Una that make those decisions, make them early, that allow us to go ahead and plan to make the show spectacular. For our listeners who might not know, we'll be in Orlando this year, so it'll be warmer weather for the 2015 Control Trends Awards. So Una's come on as a platinum sponsor. She joins Mike Marston, Easy.io, Sierra Monitor. Who else do we got? We got a couple more. LinkSpring, and then KMC Controls announced. We'll talk about that in a minute too. So that really allows us to sort of plan, Kenny. I think this year is going to be more spectacular than last year. Last year we were sort of limited to what we could do. This year we're going to have it on Sunday night, so you'll be able to come in for the show. More people will be able to attend. We'll have more awards. We'll have entertainment. We're looking at locations right now as we speak. And sort of the thought process is that a lot of these manufacturers will have national sales meetings in conjunction with AHR. So people will come in on Sunday night. So we are putting together a special package. So if you're one of those companies, you typically have people coming for a meeting. You take them out Sunday night and take them someplace. This way you can come in, you can entertain them at the Control Trends Awards, sort of an all-inclusive type package. So if you're interested in that, reach out to Kenny or myself, and we can tell you more about that. But again, thanks to Una DeBoer, and then she had Keith LaRose update us on the Copper Tree Analytics platform, Kenny, which has a lot of new features, and one of them being that they have the Haystack tags available now in the Copper Tree Analytics platform.
Well, they do. Copper Tree, they specialize in vertical integrations, and I'll tell you what, from the last time we interviewed them, they've made several improvements and additional features that were added to the Kaizen, K-A-I-Z-E-N analytics tool, and I was really impressed. If you have the chance, please watch that video because it shows how the tagging works. It shows how they have a program that goes out there and looks for, FCUs. Gosh, I can't think of it.
Well, fan coil units, yeah.
That is a bad thing. -5 for Ken. Well, see, I was thinking FCUs because I was watching that, and then anything with FCU was brought into it. So it went out to went through the software or through the station or through whatever building management program that was running, and anything that's referenced to FCU, it brings it into a screen. And from there, so it does about 80%, 90% of the heavy lifting by going out and finding out what you have. So it helps you begin the tagging process. Then you click on it and you say, okay, I want this. And then everything to do with an FCU unit is there. So you have, your hot water, cold water, outside, the damper, all these points all of a sudden that are referenced with an FCU are available for selection. And so it helps to do that tagging process. So they do have, Haystack is also added to the Kaizen, software tool, but they have their own ability to discover all the equipments and all their points And then they let you do the tagging profile, so you can create a system of FC1, FC2. They use that the discovery. They do actually on the video, and they add the tag, so it automatically adds all the rules and performance scores to those devices, pieces of equipment that were discovered. So that is amazing. So that you don't have to redo it. They already have the association. So once you know what the equipment is, they know what type of rules you'd have to prevent heating and cooling from being on, and all the things that we talked about, like with Sky Foundry and sparking, so that these rules prevent inefficiencies and give you the heads up. And then they also rate your performance. So that's quite a tool.
Well, it is quite a tool. And that was the other big theme at IBICON Rocom this year is usable analytics and using data properly. Because, the term big data is sort of overused, overbaked, if you will, Kenny. And so tools like CopperTree allow you to easily get access. So it's like, John Petsy from Sky Foundry's talked a lot about there's a cost to bringing data points in and analyzing them. And I think anything you can do software-wise, which I think CopperTree does, to lower that cost to bring information in and make it usable is a good thing.
Yep. Well, I tell you, Eric, so then we go into the last few posts. One, again, was you interviewing Ted and Jason Houck. These guys are really and truly a lot of fun. They're being recognized for their incredible abilities. They have their own versions of how you become successful in the new business. Ted Houck said, if you're not changing, you're not evolving, you're extinct. And you might not know it, but the fuel in the pipeline is running out, and there's nothing behind it because you've got to renew, take the next big thing. He credits being adventurous for his success. In other words, the only way to get good at doing stuff that nobody's done before is to jump off the high dive, get in the pool, and start swimming as best you can and making improvements. And they've taken that concept to the forefront, where now they are competing against big guys. Jason, he's amazing because he believes that success is a team thing. They've got the best IT, they've got the best software, they've got the best integration, and now they're doing their own applications, and they're coming into the data center market. They were recognized for their success, but I really like their approach. I like their attitude.
Well, yeah, I do too, Kenny. And Jason and Ted, when they almost didn't go on to do the interview, Kenny, when you weren't there, they were saying, well, we don't want to do it without Kenny, but I call Ted Houck the dad. I call him Big Poppy. I call Jason Little Poppy. Jason was one of the young guns at the 2014 Control Trends Awards, and you're right, Kenny. There's an attitude that sort of that these guys have, and they're fearless. They really are fearless, and they have entered the data center market. They did Quicken Loans, so I think they're willing to compete with anybody, and really good stuff. So love talking to those guys. Always get a fresh approach from those guys, and love their attitude.
Right, and it's a great post. It's a great interview because they really are full of information. The next post we had up is Mark Peacock. Mark is the vice president at Linkspring, and he talks about cybersecurity at IoT. And I think the coolest thing that I came away with is that he was saying how a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, cybersecurity was like a side conversation that nobody really wanted to talk about. And now it's first and foremost on everybody's mind. It's the number one subject, if you will, for people because of the events that have occurred and some of the information Fred Gordy's exposed to us now. We can't hide it. There's like 2 million systems are exposed on the internet right now. And to our, he's a gospel cybersecurity gospel prophet type of guy, and through that, slow but sure, through Realcomm's efforts, through Control Trends efforts, through building automations effort, automated buildings efforts, all intelligent buildings, we're starting to close that big number down into a more respectable numbers so that we're making our systems less vulnerable. But
well, yeah, I think you're right, Ken. I think awareness is the first key. And I think what Mark does really, really well, guys like Mark Peacock and Fred Gordy, I mean, they're out in front. They are shining a spotlight on these issues to deal with. And again, Linkspring has a really elegant solution that would solve a lot of those problems. And I got to tell you, Kenny, the Rolling Stones band was in Atlanta. played a concert here. As our listeners may or may not know, Mick Jagger is getting a little bit older, and little known fact that Mick will take a song or two off, and somebody will come on and is a doppelganger for Mick Jagger and sing a song. And rumor has it, and Mark, I need you to confirm this in comments, that Honky Tonk Women, our Mark Peacock, filled in, gave Mick a song off to catch his breath, and Mark sang Honky Tonk Women here in Atlanta. So, Mark, if that's true, we'd like to know.
Well, we know he has aspirations because we saw him at Project Haystack. We saw the IBB come back to life, and it was very entertaining.
The internet. Yeah, so we're making we're alluding to John Petsy and Mark Peacock and a bunch of people that got together and played at Haystack. We've got a video of them playing, and of course Mark singing Honky Tonk Women with his entourage of beautiful controls women's, affectionately called the Peacocks.
Okay, Mark, that's all right. We didn't only good things, Mark.
Only good things. All right, Kenny, what do we have up next?
KMC Commander TM awarded Best Intelligent Building Technology Innovation at Realcomm IBCOM 2015. Congratulations. KMC is a leader in building automation systems, and they were awarded the Best Intelligent Building Technology Innovation Award in San Antonio, Texas, for the KMC Commander. It's a fabulous product. It's a complete IoT platform for building automation that forms end-to-end solutions from sensors to controllers, the edge devices, to the cloud-based remote management applications. Remote visualization and control are enabled via a cloud-hosted mobile application based on architecture with secure data access. Well done, KMC.
Oh, well done, well done. And that's Richard Newberry we're talking to there. And I tell you what, Kenny, you talk about a collaboration. Dell and Intel both collaborated with KMC on this. So you got the Intel security stack in there, so you have security down at a chip level, plus you have Dell. And this is just, I think, a great example of things to come. KMC, family-run business here in the States. Eric Kruters, the grandson of the founder. Mitch is there too. And Richard Newberry announces that KMC is now a platinum sponsor for the second year in a row at the Control Trends Award. So we thank those guys for that as well. So Kenny Smyers, I tell you what, anything we want to talk about before we wrap it up here?
Well, there was one thing I did want to say about Intel, and we asked Jason kind of as off to the side, or I think you asked him again too, what was the biggest thing that you thought? Who made a big splash? And he said Intel did. He said Intel is making a big splash, and he said Intel is going to be involved in the next big thing. And I'll tell you what, we're seeing it now. Intel is coming in and they're partnering with everybody. And with Intel, you bring that smart stack in that has the McAfee security, and that's one way to secure your networks is to put encode, decode it at the sensor level, so that every device on the network has the blessing of the Intel McAfee stack, it's going through the McAfee software, so that I believe it's encode and decode, but correct me if I'm wrong, but he thought that's going to, again, it's going to become a benchmark. Everybody's going to compare it and ask, do you have that in yours? Do you have, what level of security do you provide, the sensors and all the devices and everything on the network? What's your level of protection?
No, cool stuff. And, along those lines, Kenny, Fred Gordy has pointed out to us, and I think this is going to be a trend too, that if you're a systems integrator working in a building, the owners are going to want to see your security credentials and what is your cybersecurity protection program. In other words, how often are your laptops being scanned, anything that gets involved with the network. So we're going to see more of that as well. So we will keep you updated on those changes as they come about. Again, congratulations to Jim Young, Howard Berger, Lisa Woods, and the rest of the team at Realcomm IBCON for just a fantastic conference. And Kenny, I think you and I are going to be stable for a while. I think our next big event is probably going to be going to Europe to jump off the Eiffel Tower with Mike Marston at the EasyIO Worldwide event. And they're finishing my studio up downstairs. They've been renovating my basement. So hopefully this time next week, we'll be broadcasting from the new studio. And
nice.
So I know you probably got your hands full coming back. And so I think, Kenny, with that, very, very special thanks to all of our listeners and viewers. Please reach out in comments to let us know what you think. And remember, stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers.